Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Women's Prosperity Network's Women Making Herstory interview series. It's Trish Carr, one of the co-founders of Women's Prosperity Network, and I am thrilled today to have with me a woman that I met a few years ago who is an international sensation, really someone who's making a huge difference across the entire globe, and that is Kezia Luckett. And Kezia and I met on the documentary that we filmed together. We're part of a documentary series called Awakening Giants TV. And Kezia and I met there. And I'll tell you what, just the name of her company will excite you. It's called Women of Contribution. And what she does is extraordinary. She just came off a big event called Up to Bigger Things, or Destined for Bigger Things, right? Destined for Bigger Things. And she is the author of the best-selling series, Pay It Forward. And she will talk a little bit about that. So Kezia, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thrilled to celebrate with you.
Yes, it's wonderful. And when we first met, Women of Contribution was just an idea, right? Just a few years ago, this was something you were thinking about, you wanted to make a difference, and you could see it ahead of you. So tell us, what is Women of Contribution morphed into today?
Oh, I tell you, it's morphed into something that's probably bigger than my wildest dreams, because it came as a vision on Boxing Day 2016. So it wasn't long after that we met, and I literally went for a walk, and pictures and voices and questions kept coming in thick and fast, and sat down in front of the computer and started typing away. And at the end of an hour, I had kind of mapped out the Women of Contribution movement and the Pay It Forward Notes to My Younger Self movement. And it was really about the fact that at Women of Contribution, we believe absolutely every woman, it doesn't matter who you are, can leave an impactful footprint on the world when they collaborate and share their gifts. And you know probably better than anybody, when women come together, it's amazing what they can do. And one of the things that I heard all the time from women was, actually, I've got nothing to offer. And the Pay It Forward series, Notes to My Younger Self book, is really just showcasing to women that even something as simple as a story can change another person's life. And it's certainly been doing that. I mean, it's morphed into, like I say, things that I never even imagined that it would morph into.
Yeah, well, Destined for Bigger Things, that was your first big event, filled the room, overflowing, right?
Yeah.
What was the outcome of Destined for Bigger Things for those who were there?
Oh, well, do you know what? It's one of the most humbling experiences, and you and your sisters will totally get this. You put something on because you feel that inner whisper inside that actually this is what's needed. And I wanted every woman to understand that they're all destined for bigger things, and actually that destined for bigger things is ultimately becoming who we were put on this planet to be. And I had people coming up to me afterwards, and I was quite shocked, and they were going like, "You've changed my life. You've changed my life." And receiving emails afterwards, I received one today, and it's changed the way that she's thinking about herself, the way that she's thinking about creating a business, and even the relationship that she has with her husband. And I certainly wasn't imagining that, not even for 1 minute.
No, and it really is the way you're making herstory, for sure. And so many of the people who are watching this interview are doing things every single day like we do, but don't give themselves the pat on the back, and even more so, don't get the emails that you're now getting, don't get the people saying, "Kezia, you changed my life." But every single thing we do, when we're working with another person, we are having an impact on that person, positive, negative, but we're having an impact, right? And that's what Women of Contribution is all about, is for women to share their gifts, right?
It is. And it's interesting because, even with the Pay It Forward book, because 18 women wrote back to their younger selves at pivotal moments, those dark moments where they wonder whether they're ever going to see the light. And they kind of shared their wisdom and hope and inspiration that they've gained through the years. But once you've read the book, you write your own little note in the message box, you put a post-it note on the front, and then you leave it for a stranger to find. You say, this book's for you, read it, love it, pay it forward. And the idea is that literally somebody who you don't even know can pick up the book and be touched by that one thoughtful sentence that you wrote in a book. And that's where the ripple effect starts to go out. You know, we often think we're not doing anything, but it could be leaving a book. It could be giving somebody some of your time, being present in the moment, giving somebody a smile, opening a door. It doesn't have to be like massive, massive things to make a ripple effect across the world.
Yeah, you know, you're giving me, I like to call them God bumps, when you talk about leaving the book for someone else. Truly, those types of small acts of kindness, while you may never hear what happened, they come back in such beautiful ways in your own life being enriched. You know, there doesn't have to be a direct giving from the receiving. It's from somewhere else, right?
And it does. And within 3 weeks of the book being out, I had this gentleman turn up to a women's event, really bizarre, just turned up and he goes, you're here? And I go, yes. And he goes, I've read your book. And I thought, no, there's no way. Firstly, you're a man and it was women writing for women. And secondly, you know, it's only been out 3 weeks. And he goes, I found your book in a hotel room in a bedside cabinet in Morocco.
Wow.
And it had already traveled from England to Morocco. He'd found it and he'd come to the event to buy 3 more copies to give to the women a contribution in his life.
Wow. Wow.
And that just blew my mind. Actually, he'd made that journey, he'd made that connection, and actually he knew which women he wanted to give it to so they could then send it out into the world.
Yeah, you never know, really, you never know. It's just keep taking the steps forward. Know that you're here for a purpose. That's the other thing that you do, is you really support people, mostly women, in like getting their arms around, what am I supposed to be here for? What am I? And so often we get all caught up in, is it big enough? Is it the greatest thing? Is it, am I really supposed to do this? Or am I supposed to be like Mother Teresa? When in fact, when you work with people, you find that their purpose is already in front of them. They're already doing something, right?
Yeah. I mean, as a positive psychologist, my main area of expertise is people's pasts and the stories and meanings that they've built around those pivotal moments. And actually, written in absolutely everybody's past is what they should be doing in the future. Every single person, because there are reasons why you go through each experience that you do. It brings you to where you are. It's kind of like the stepping stones and the blueprint of who you were put on this planet to be. And when you can look at that in a particular way, that you can just fully understand why they all had to happen and why you are who you are at this moment in time. And what the next step is for the future.
And I bet, and I know light bulbs go off like, oh, I'm already doing some of that. And, oh, I just did that last week. And people don't realize, we don't realize that right now in this moment, we are living our purpose. We are living our purpose. And Women of Contribution, the Pay It Forward series. Also, I know that you're working on Ready to Rise, which is also sounds extraordinary. All of those ways are ways that we can acknowledge ourselves, see ourselves, have the clarity that other people have, and gives us internally who we are, what we're about. So I thank you so much for the work that you're doing and the difference that you're making.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And I know that you want to share a special gift with those who are with us today. So can you tell us a little bit about that button down there that says click here for free gift?
So my free gift to the extraordinary women that will be watching this, because they have to be extraordinary, not only to follow you and your sisters, but also to have tuned in to her story. I wanted to gift them a small snippet of what Paying It Forward looks like. And we've gifted 3 chapters of volume 1 of the Pay It Forward series, Notes to My Younger Self. And some of those are our Awakening Giant sisters that we were with in San Diego, but it just gives you an opportunity to start that brain going and thinking, actually, if they can turn these things around, I can too. And it's, you know, it's not where the story ends, it's where the story begins.
It's wonderful. And I love your book because I know that it's challenging to read an entire book. 200 pages from beginning to end is a challenge for most of us. In fact, I get my books used most of the time. And when I do, I get, the first few pages people have written in the book, and I'm like, darn, I wish they didn't write in the book, and they're highlighting it. But I'll tell you, when I get to about page 95, you can hear the binding crack, because that's where people stop. So one of the things I love about the Pay It Forward series is they're small, digestible stories that you can read one, be done, and feel like you accomplished something, right? So I love that you're sharing 3 of them with us. So make sure you click on the link that says get my free gift here and get those 3 chapters, because you'll be so inspired with those stories. Kezia, you inspire so many of us, me included. Who's inspired you in your history?
Oh, it's like, where do you start? Every woman that you come across has touched your life in some way or another. I think if I was to think of the obvious, for me, it was Oprah Winfrey. Especially being brought up in the UK, it was the first kind of idea of talk show hosts, and especially a woman talk show host, and just listening to the way that she eloquently guided people to be able to tell their stories and actually be themselves and tell their story. And she's really real. And that's the thing that I love is, when you're authentic, people get it. They just get it. And yeah, she still is. I mean, ideally, if I could be like Oprah Winfrey, that would be my main aim in life, to to be able to interview the people that she interviewed and touch the lives that she's touched. That would feel good.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, you're already touching lives. You're already making a difference. You're already connecting with extraordinary people through the Pay It Forward series, through Women of Contribution, through everything that you're doing. So I thank you so much, Kezia, for being a part of this series, because, our goal is that someday it's not history or her story, it's our story that we all share. So thank you so much for being with us. Those of you who are watching this, be a part of this movement. Women's Prosperity Network is a real movement of real women like Kezia. All over the world, we're arm in arm. It may be virtually that we're arm in arm, but we come together to collaborate, to work together, to grow our missions and our messages, because every single one of us, every single one of you are on a mission to make a difference with your business, with your products, with your services, with the many projects that you're doing. Become a part of this movement and click that other button and become a part of this movement today. Kezia, thank you so much for being with us. It's a pleasure. We'll see you again with another Women Making History, her story interview. And thank you so much for being with us, everybody.